Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. Are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And welcome to today's edition, let me get my words out properly, of the Doctor Who Daily. It's Friday's edition of the Doctor Who Daily, and if you're feeling charitable, please smash the subscribe button, please smash the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Today is all about Steven Moffat. First of all, I'm going to be reading an article from the Radio Times while Steven discusses that he won't return to write Doctor Who. I have some very, very strong opinions about that. Then I'm going to read another Radio Times article to you about him defending the twists in The Timeless Children. Then finally, I'm going to read a short story, another short story from Steven called I'm Sally Sparrow. Now, this is actually based on the Blink episode, but in this, Sally Sparrow is actually 12 years old. So let's get down to it. Steven Moffat says he still won't be tempted back to Doctor Who to write a new episode. Exclusive, former series showrunner has returned to the sci-fi drama's fold for new short stories and extra scenes, but says he still isn't keen on writing for the TV series again. Let's see what he has to say. Whilst the last few weeks have been full of difficulties for Doctor Who fans, there have been plenty of nice surprises too. Most notably, the surprise return of ex-showrunners Russell T Davies and Steven Moffat, both of whom have penned new short stories, prequels and short online scenes to keep fans of the BBC sci-fi drama entertained. But despite recently turning in a great short story starring Jodie Whittaker's Doctor and reminiscing fondly on Twitter about his time in charge, Moffat says he's come back to the Whoviverse doesn't mean we should expect a screen return, because he's holding firm on his assurance that he has no more Doctor Who episodes in him. It was lovely to get a shot at Jodie, Moffat told RadioTimes.com, but I think Doctor Who suffered enough at my hands. Oh, Steven. I've always said, and Russell's always said, I'll come back when there's an emergency. Well, what do you call this? But no, I think that Doctor Who has to change hands and have new creators, new people involved. And I remember I wrote a ton of them. He laughed. I think I'm out of ideas. I don't have a single one left. You're not telling the truth, are you, Steven? And in any case, Moffat noted, writing a couple of short pieces to go online isn't quite the same as committing to the TV production. And generally speaking, it didn't raise too many memories of when he ran the whole show. It's not like running Doctor Who, which was a colossal job at the level that Chris is doing now, he explained. It doesn't feel like that. It just feels like, I'm very familiar with it as a fan and as a viewer and all that. So it wasn't a massive stretch to get back into, to be honest. It was fine. I quite enjoyed it, and I hope people liked it. Still, who knows? As the coronavirus pandemic continues, we may be able to expect yet more Doctor Who content from Moffat, Davies and other Doctor Who grandees going forward. And Moffat definitely isn't ruling out doing another short story if it was in the right circumstances. Oh yeah, he laughed. I'll do it during the next plague. Right. He just said in this article that him and Russell have always said they wouldn't come back unless there's an emergency. Steven, Russell, what do you think this is? Doctor Who is in a colossal mess. I'm not here to do this great put-down job of Chris Chibnall, but the show is in an absolute mess. Ratings are going down instead of up, instead of freezing. The fans are very, very upset. This is an emergency. We need you both to come back. This is an emergency, absolutely. And on Steven saying he's got no more Doctor Who stories left, Steven, the story I read on this very channel the other day may have been a short story, but it was quite a long short story. It was full of breadth, ideas and emotion. Everything Doctor Who is lacking right now. If you don't call this an emergency, boys, I don't know what is. Ex-Doctor Who boss Steven Moffat defends the twists in Jodie Whittaker's The Timeless Children. Doctor Who never fixed, the former showrunner tells us, and reveals that he never gave up on the Morbius Doctors. Doctor Who Series 12 finale, The Timeless Children, was absolutely full of shocking revelations for Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. Most notably, the twist that the Doctor had a whole series of lives we hadn't previously known about. Despite a similar idea being foisted in classic Tom Baker episode The Brain of Morbius, with the Morbius Doctors apparently confirmed in the finale as well, it's fair to say the idea was fairly controversial with fans, but ex-showrunner Stephen Moffat doesn't agree, telling RadioTimes.com he thinks it fits perfectly with the series' inconsistent past. Who says what's canon, Moffat told us. One episode of the show says that William Hartnell is the first Doctor, another episode he's not. Notably, he explained in early episodes, fans could read between the lines to believe that Patrick Troughton's second Doctor was familiar with the regeneration process, despite later stories suggesting he was only the second body the Doctor had ever changed in. The big plot hole that no one ever mentions in 1966 episode was the power of the Daleks. Just get nerdy, he said. The Doctor talks as if he's done this before. The first time it happens, he wanders around the first episode behaving as if, my old body wore out. I got a new one. He does not behave as if it's his first time, and later on it's retconned into the idea that it was the first time, but that doesn't fit. Doctor Who never fits, he laughed. None of it's together. If you really look at it, why would it? It's made by teams and teams of different people who never ever met, so I'm perfectly happy with all of that. It's great fun. Previously, Moffat had told RadioTimes.com that he'd been disappointed by the Morbius Doctor's removal from canon as a child. So was he happy to see them reinstated in The Timeless Children? Well, it turns out that was actually a bit of a clue that Moffat knew what Whittaker's Doctor was about to find out. I'm not daft, I guessed where that was going at that stage, Moffat laughed. Even by then, I figured they were going to do something with that. I'm not sure I ever completely decanonised them in my head. I mean, who says? Clearly, when it comes to Doctor Who, there are better discussions to be had than whether something fits within the often contradictory canon, like, for example, whether Moffat's latest Doctor Who short story is technically a Doctor Who story at all. Stephen Moffat's short story, Doctor Who and the Terror of the Umpty Umps, is available to read online now. I said when I reacted to The Timeless Children, I was perfectly fine with it. And I still am. I don't really care about the Morbius Doctors. It's not a thing for me. I think it's fun because those Morbius Doctors were part of the production team. And it's great to honour those people because those people were brilliant. And there'd be no Doctor Who if it wasn't for them. So I'm quite happy for that to stick. I think The Timeless Children holds great potential. It's a great idea. And if he works on it for the next season, it could be interesting. I don't believe that Jodie Whittaker's Doctor is the Timeless Child. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think I think the Matrix was corrupted. I've told you guys that before. I think either the Master corrupted it or Tecte-Yun corrupted it, so no one could ever find out the truth. But I do not believe that the Doctor is the Timeless Child, and I think we will find that out within time. But even if she is, it's an interesting story. My problem with it isn't that what's his name? William Hartnell, sorry, that William Hartnell isn't the first Doctor, because we've been through this before. Before William Hartnell, the Doctor didn't call himself or herself or whatever the Doctor. It's getting confusing now, isn't it? With all these genderizations now. But the point is, so you can still call Bill Hartnell the first Doctor and, Troughton the second and so on and so forth. It's fine. You can still do that. That's not changed. I think my problem when I saw it is these random people were quickly regenerating, right? The Doctor or this character was regenerating constantly. So there was no identity with that. That takes something away from it. But the actual concept and idea is very interesting to me. To say Doctor Who's never fit, I don't think is really true. I'm not too sure if Russell and Stephen are particularly enamoured with it. But personally, I think it's okay. But the problem is, it's too early to judge this at the moment. We've got to see what Chibnall's going to do with it and if he's going to have an opportunity to do anything. Things change very quickly in the entertainment industry. If he gets to do this story and it's a great resolution to it and it's got a great... We've seen the beginning, we've got to see the middle, and we've got to see the ending of it. And I think that will curtail the Chibnall era. but I'm not willing to judge it right now until I've seen it all finished off. Are you sitting comfortably? Are you ready for Stephen Moffat's short story based on Blink? This was his first idea of the concept. Now, this is called My Name is Sally Sparrow. Now, my reading's terrible, but I'm going to try my best to give the emotions and the reactions of what's going on in the story. Then we'll discuss it for a little bit. We present Stephen Moffat's short story originally published in 2006, the Doctor Who annual upon which Blink is based. Right, it's called My Name is Sally Sparrow. I am 12 years old. I have auburn hair, braces. You can hardly see a dent in my left knee from where I fell off a bicycle when I was 10. And parents, I also have a little brother called Tim. My mum told Mrs. McDurford that Tim wasn't planned. And you can tell because this nose isn't straight and his hair sticks up. And I can't believe you do all that on purpose. Or his ears. I am top in English, and Miss Telfer says I have an excellent vocabulary. I have 16 friends who are mainly girls. I haven't taken much interest in boys yet because of the noise. This is the story of the mysterious events that happened to me at my aunt's cottage at Christmas and what I discovered under the wallpaper of my bedroom, which caused me to raise my eyebrows with perplexity. So far this is sounding a little bit very similar to Amy Pond's story, and he does like this fairy tale kid kind of thing, doesn't he? I was staying at my fat aunt's cottage because my mum and dad had gone on a weekend away. Tim was staying with his friend Rupert, who I don't think was planned either, because of his teeth, and I found myself once more in the spare bedroom at my aunt's cottage in the countryside, which is in Devon. I love my aunt's cottage. From her kitchen window, you can only see fields all the way to the horizon, and it's so quiet, and you can hear water dripping off a leaf from right at the end of the garden. Sometimes when I lie in bed, I can hear a train far away in the distance, and it always fills me with a big sighing feeling, like sadness, only nice. It's good. My bedroom at my aunt's, really big, with a wardrobe that rattles its hangers when you walk past it, and huge yellow flowers on the wallpaper. When I was little, I used to sit and stare at those flowers, and when no one was looking, I tried to pick them, like they were real flowers. You can still see a little torn bit where I tried to peel one off the wall when I was free. And every time I got into the room, the first thing I'd do is go straight to that flower and touch it, just remembering, and such. I've talked about it with my dad, and we think it might be nostalgia. It's because of that flower and that nostalgia that I first met the Doctor. It was 3 days before Christmas. I just arrived at my fat aunt's house, and as usual, I'd hugged her, run straight upstairs to my room to hang all my clothes in the rattly wardrobe. And as usual, I'd gone straight to the torn yellow flower on the wall and knelt beside it. I'm bigger now and touched it, but this time I did something different. I don't know why. I heard my aunt calling from downstairs that I shouldn't be too long because she'd cooked my favourite and it was on the table, and usually I'd have run straight down. Maybe it was because I knew she'd want to talk about school, and sometimes you don't want to talk about school. Sorry, Miss Telfer, especially if you've got braces and frizzy hair, and people can be a bit silly about that kind of thing, even if they're supposed to be your friends. Maybe it was because I was thinking about being free and how much smaller the flowers look now. Actually, I think it was because Mary Phillips had made up a song about my hair, and I was feeling a bit cross, and my eyes were all stingy and blurry, the way they get when you know you're going to cry if you don't really concentrate. Anyway, my fingers were resting right on the torn bit, and I was thinking about the song and frizziness and such, and suddenly it was like I just didn't care, and I started to tear the paper a little bit more, just a tiny bit at first. I just sort of tugged it to see what would happen, and I kept going. And you know, sometimes it's like you're in a dream. You're doing something, but it doesn't feel like you're doing it, more like you're just watching. Well, I went right on and peeled the whole flower off the wall, a whole streak of wallpaper, and I just ripped it off. And then, oh my goodness, I just stared. I once read in a story about a girl who got fright, and the writer said she felt her hair stand on end. I thought that was rubbish and would look really stupid, like my brother. I thought the writer was probably making that bit up because it couldn't happen. But I was wrong. I could feel it happening, now starting up my neck. All cold, then all my scalp just fizzing and tingling. And here is what was written under the wallpaper. Help me, Sally Sparrow. So, a bit different, very different, because she's young. She's not introduced to the story she is in Blink, but I think it's very good, and it's typical of Moffat. I know this was back in 2006. I really like that, actually. Now the question is, would that have been better? Would that have been better, her being a younger girl? It's the kind of question I posed the other day on here when we were discussing Amelia or Amy. I don't know. I think Amelia. I'm always going to plump for Amelia over Amy. I found her a bit more relatable and likeable. That would have been good. I love Blink. It's a great episode. Look, Stephen Moffat claims he's got no other stories to tell. But I don't think you're really telling the truth, are you, Stephen? I think you and Doctor Who are not finished yet. Comment down below. Like, share and subscribe. And follow me on Twitter @MoviesTVMad, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more Doctor Who Daily. See you again soon.